Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid South Wrestling Review Series for the 30th of June, 1984, and 1984 certainly heating up. Not a big surprise there. As we close the month of June, we've got a lot going on in the Mid South area. Ernie Ladd, the big cat, has returned. Ladd returning a pretty big deal. Dr. Death won't give up the television championship medal to Terry Taylor, basically implying that he's the one that beat Khrushchev for it. And if Taylor or anyone else wants it, they got to go through the dock to get there from here. And I mean, the heelish stuff. He hasn't officially turned heel, but that's obviously where it's going. You can tell it in the body language. He is a massive heel going forward, and it's I don't know that I'd say cool to see, but just more personality out of Doc than maybe we've seen before. Jim Ross doing the interview, and I assume that's where the beginning of the excitement and all of that around Doc is there. Junkyard Dog and Butch Reed in a street fight from the Superdome is up next, and obviously that's a pretty big, you know, payoff, pretty big deal. The street fight concept basically is nothing more than a brawl, and kind of everybody comes as they are. Butch Reed trying to take things down. The dog also trying to choke out Reed. Again, the lighting on this is pretty poor. Basically, a lot of punching, kicking, really basic stuff. Partially because Dog, I don't know that I would say can't do much, but Hercules Hernandez is out here. He is whipping the Dog. Um, post the match, and you see a lot of that coming about. Dog comes back, or I'm sorry, Butch Reed out there. I don't know why I said Hercules. Reed manages to, use a belt, dropping several fists, punches, and kicks into the face of the Dog. Obviously, Reed not wanting to take any backward steps whatsoever. Kind of breaks it down into a wrestling match. We see him work the leg a bit. We see him work the back chin lock. Decent for a street fight, although odd to see a guy like Butch Reed hooking on the attempted figure four. Kind of everybody fights around, and Reed manages to get hit under the chin, brawling around the building, and then the thump slam with some help from the Magnum TA. Buddy Landel makes his way out, obviously. In a street fight, anything goes. Slapjack used on the Dog. Big thump slam by the Dog, and Butch Reed is helped by the presence of Buddy Landel to gain a victory there. We go to Wendy Richter again, kind of pushing Wendy to get ready for bigger things, one would suppose. Wendy Richter, cowboy hat and all, against Princess Victoria. Many people say that Victoria was one of the I guess better women in the time frame. I don't really know how to say that. More skilled, more talented, whatever have you. Full Nelson by Richter. Victoria takes her down. Victoria with her own full Nelson pulls her out. Kind of gets things going there. The women obviously only come in a couple times a year. Meanwhile, Jim Cornette down sitting at ringside watching the women, which is really a bizarre thing. Anyway, attempted body slam. Victoria rolls through, gets a near fall, and apparently, maybe Jim Cornette wants to manage one of the women. Anyway, double axe handle by Richter holds the chin lock, running clothesline by Richter, and a 2 count there. Victoria with a few kicks along the way, Irish whips. and a flying clothesline by Victoria. Hard shot by Victoria. She tries to drop kick in the corner, doesn't get what she wants. Match is rather sloppy, but I guess not by 1984 standards. Roll up in a kind of roll through, and Wendy Richter gets a victory here. The Fantastics up next, Pat Rose and Barry Orton providing their opposition here. Obviously, Jim Ross still your ring announcer. Orton looking to be pretty good. Pat Rose does the majority of his work in Florida. The Fantastics don't have a major role here. They kind of are here for a couple of months and then gone. I think they go off to World Class, if I remember correctly, where they have a bit more of a run. Fantastics and Midnights eventually do become a big feud, but not meant to be in this time frame. Not that there's anything wrong with that per se, but in any event, tackles by Rose. Rose tries to do everything he can. Big over the hip and a drop kick under the chin by Tommy Rogers. I'm sorry, by Fulton. Fulton firing up the fiery baby face there. Head scissors take over, rolls him around, and really has quite a dominant run for a good bit of time. Tag off between the baby faces. Really basic stuff there. Tie up both men and shoulder tackle. Again, Fulton up and over. Orton takes the hip toss pretty well and finds himself on the receiving end of a couple of shots. Meanwhile, tag off to Tommy Rogers. Rogers not willing to take a backward step in any stretch of the imagination, and we kind of see tag back off to Barry Orton. Orton comes back in on the receiving end of some arm bars, doesn't get everything he wants out of that. Cut off by Orton into his own corner. Orton and Rose take over for a little bit. Clothesline by Orton under the chin and kind of holding his opponent into a hard situation. Rose manages a backdrop and kind of continues the process here. And then several times kind of keeping things going the way that is wanted / needed, all of that. The Tommy Rogers fires back pretty assertively off a hot tag. He manages to get a near pinfall. Rose gets Rogers to duck the head, catches him with a forearm. Orton goes to the second rope on the inside, doesn't go where he wants to. Press slam Rogers, press slams Fulton onto their adversary, and a 3 count is had by all. Then we go to Crusher Khrushchev and Butch Reed versus Jackson and Reagan. Odd that this particular team even exists. I don't really understand the Khrushchev alliance with Darsov, but that is there, and it continues for a bit. But with, about 12 minutes left in the program and 3 segments, Butch Reed continues to fire back. Still a vicious heel, still a former North American and Tag Team Champion, still a guy to be reckoned with in the area under any circumstance. Irish Whip. Meanwhile, Al Jackson manages a dropkick under the chin, and we see a 2 count, and ultimately things go that way. And dropkick under almost like an enziguri by the adversary, and again, an Irish Whip, hard knee to the spine by Reed. Reed manages to do everything he can, tags out several shots by Reagan. Reagan with a dropkick under the chin, and then we see a falling shot by Reed with the elbow drop. The hanging backbreaker by Khrushchev gets the submission victory for his team, and there we go. Not sure they're going to team again, but they teamed here. Sonny King and Mr. Wrestling 2 are up next, and with 10 minutes left in the program, this is the last major match of the day. Wrestling 2 kind of unhappy with what's going on there. We see Buddy Landel complaining about things in the background. Sonny King also kind of again being touted as a Junkyard Dog sympathizer throughout the commentary and all of that. King fires up, goes to a bit of a brawl with the adversary. King is kind of hitting some shots early that he normally wouldn't hit. Snapmare takeover, drops the knee, Irish whip, and again, there we go. Back elbow by Wrestling 2, choke out by Wrestling 2, and King fights back, doesn't really give up too much. Actually topples Wrestling 2, and again we see King keep things down with the reverse chinlock and chokeouts along the way. Several shots by the adversary. Meanwhile, Wrestling 2 knocks the referee down inadvertently, misses a top rope splash. King comes back, but Landel runs in, tries to completely dominate King, and King is laid out and completely humiliated. Meanwhile, final segment, Ernie Ladd calls out Magnum TA. Basically, Ladd says he's back and goes after Mr. Announcer, otherwise known as Jim Ross, and basically says he wants Magnum TA in the North American Championship. That's how we close the month of June here in Mid-South in 1984. We will be back with much more action here today as we start the new year. We've got over 900 audios, almost 1,000. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.